Hello and welcome to my channel Close to the Edge, where I talk about all things prog rock, classic rock, heavy rock, and maybe, just maybe, a sticker rock. Today I have a very special guest from Chicago, Steve, from A is for Alice, B is for Bob, and C is for... Welcome, Steve.
Thank you very much. This is pretty exciting. This is my first international appearance on another channel. So,
And it's
thank
good to have you, Steve, because I love your channel.
thank you very much. Yeah, I
I do
love
love,
your.
I do love your channel, and your knowledge of music is absolutely second to none. Second to none.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, and same with you. I can't even remember how I came across your channel. I'm sure whatever it was probably you were talking about Jethro Tull or whatever, or yes, and it came up in my algorithms,
Yeah,
popped on, watched your video, and I've watched pretty much every video since.
I know you do comment a lot on my videos. I noticed that. Yeah,
Yep.
and that's really appreciated. What I'll do though is I'll leave the link in the description below for your channel. And if my subscribers over there haven't heard of Steve, go over and check his channel. Excellent channel.
Thank you.
I love your intro. Love your intro.
The Mighty Slade.
Yeah, I love it though. I think it's brilliant. I brilliant. You know straight away if you heard it in the background, you know it's your channel. But anyway, today Steve suggested this, and I think it's a brilliant idea. Our top 10 favorite double studio albums. And I was going through this, Steve. There's not many bands really, when you boil it down to it, in the music that I like, that have double albums.
Yeah, for me, the disappointing thing about this is a lot of the bands that you and I love and grew up with, they never made a proper double album. Deep Purple, Black
No,
Sabbath,
no.
Uriah Heep.
Jethro Tull.
Yeah. I mean, none of them made a true double album, and I was kind of surprised when I was starting to think which 10 I was going to choose. I'm like, damn it, Blue Oyster Cult didn't do it, and ZZ
No.
Top didn't do it, and man, there were just so many.
So
So
many bands that actually didn't do it.
yeah,
But we have 10 here anyway. And hopefully, I think I have 10 good ones. And I presume I don't know what Steve is after picking. And he doesn't know what I'm after picking. And also, we could have crossovers here, Steve.
I'm sure we will.
Be interested to see. Do you want to kick off with your number 10, Steve?
Sure, I will go with a band that you don't see a lot of in the VC. They don't get a lot of love. They have 26 studio albums, and you hardly ever see them get talked about, and that is Golden Earring.
Yes, Golden Earring, yeah. I have one album by them.
You have what?
I have one album by him.
One album, yeah, and this is
Yeah.
the album on the double, what appropriately named for the double LP. This is their fourth album. This is starting to be a bit of a transition album for them because if you listen to like their first two albums, they're very much like Mercy Beat almost.
Yeah, yeah.
And then this, you can start to hear a little bit of their, they're getting a little more kind of psychedelic, maybe even a little proggish, because this is their first of two albums in 69, or is it 68? Can't remember. Yeah, it is 69. And because the next album is 8 Miles High, which they do like a full album side of the song 8 Miles High by the Yardbirds. Or I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
by the Birds. Um, so yeah, this would be my number 10. And I would tell anybody, check out their discography. Just pull up any album at random. I think they're a much underappreciated band outside of the Netherlands.
Okay, that's good, Steve. I must actually check that album out because I don't have that one. And I haven't heard that one. Very good. My number 10, and it's in a box set now, but it's Tangerine Dream. It's in this box set, right?
Yeah, okay.
And the album is Zeit, released in 1972. They're one of my favorite bands. I'm not sure you're familiar with Tangerine Dream,
I have,
German band.
I bet you have close to 10 of their albums.
Okay, you're familiar enough with them then.
Yeah.
This album is, Stephen Wilson. Uh, Stephen Wilson in Porcupine Tree and
Right.
mixes all. That's his favorite album of all time,
Oh,
Zeit.
yeah.
And it's an album if you're in an ambient mood. I mean, a mood that you just want to sit down and relax. You throw that on because not a whole lot happens on it. I'll be straight up. You know, it's just sounds, different types of sounds. You know, it's 4 tracks, just a beautiful album to sit down and relax to. A lot of
Where,
people, a lot of people now wouldn't get it. They think it might be just noise, but I like it. It's
where does
early Tangerine Dream, where they're kind of lot of experimentation on it.
where does that fall in their discography?
That's their third album.
Third album. Okay.
Okay, 1972.
Yeah.
They were innovators in that kind of sound and different type of synthesizers they were using at the time, keyboards. They were messing around with a lot of analog stuff, you know. So that's my number 10, Zeit. I think that's how you pronounce it.
All right. It'll be interesting to see if you have my number 9. I know a lot of people do, and that is also from 1969. That is Tommy the Who. Quite
Okay,
sure.
that's an interesting one.
Quite sure this is the first double album I ever bought. Well, I mean, outside of Blonde on Blonde, it's got to be one of the first double albums anyway. So,
Yeah, that and Freak Out by Frank Zappa, 66.
Right.
That's a double as well.
is that the first double album? Yeah.
No, I think
Blonde on
Blonde Blonde beat it by a few months.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody knows it. Pinball Wizard.
Oh yeah, great track.
And yep, a great sounding album. Obviously, all their stuff normally did sound good. Yeah, just fantastic album. A very iconic album cover too.
Very iconic from the English band, yeah.
So there you go. That is my number 9.
And talking about 1969 then, my number 9 is the White Album and I have it on CD here, The Beatles. I think this is a brilliant double studio album. You're familiar with this, obviously, yeah?
Oh, yeah, I do have it. Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think of it?
I like the really good songs, but then for me, there's a bit too much filler for me.
Filler on it, yeah. But you have to think when it came out in 69, especially after their iconic album, Sgt. Pepper's. This came, I love Helter Skelter. It's like a heavy metal track, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah.
You know, and Back in the USSR, another brilliant track on it, you know. So I like this album. I'm not a huge fan now, Steve, of the Beatles, right? I wouldn't be like Glenn over there, Glenn Kellaway, who's a fanatic on him. I just like this album because it was different than what came before, you know. And that's it, the Beatles, the White Album.
Okay. I have from 1977, right? And for whatever reason, I have the picture disc on this. I don't know why, but it is ELO, Out of the Blue. Chock full of hits.
I have that album, yeah.
Yeah, Played to Death on the Radio, Turn to Stone, Sweet Talking Woman, Mr. Blue Sky. So I was lucky enough to see them, 2018, when he first finally went back out again, because he said finally the technology caught up with his music so he could play it properly live.
Jeff Lynne, yeah.
Yeah, but this was a fantastic double album. This came out right before I went in the Air Force. I remember getting this. So yeah, and also another great sounding album because it's Jeff Lynne producing it, which I don't think he's ever made a bad sounding album.
No, always well produced. Not a big fan myself now, Steve, of those. I have that album, but I wouldn't be a big fan of theirs.
Okay, so you will not be duplicating that pick.
No, I won't be duplicating that pick. Right, my number 8. Not sure whether you will be duplicating this one. It's one of my favorite prog bands, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and it's Works Volume 1.
That was pick number 11 for me. It just missed making the cut.
I think this is a very underrated album because you have 3. First track, Keith Emerson. First side. Second side, Greg Lake. Third side, Carl Palmer. And then they got together for the last side. You can see where the band was kind of splintering at this stage. you know, where the three of them made their own thing and they
Right.
came together. But still an excellent album, very underrated album. Probably their last great album, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, when bands do something like that, the writing's
That's
on the wall.
writings on the wall where they were a bit bombastic in many respects because the tour of that album, they toured America and Canada and they had an orchestra for 18 shows and it cost them over $3 million dollars, and they had to stop it because they couldn't afford to have the orchestra there anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and they had three separate trucks. Do you ever see that picture of the three trucks?
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know the video you're talking
the
about.
video. Yeah, and they had to cut it down to one in the end because they were running out of money
Right.
because the shows weren't paying for what. You know, they had all these fancy ideas, but I think still a very underrated album, Steve. A lot of people think they stopped at Brain Salad Surgery. I don't. I think this one is excellent. I think then they started falling off a cliff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, I mean, back then, go to a concert, it was still only costing maybe $10. So
Yeah.
they weren't charging enough.
No, they probably weren't. No, they weren't. Anyway, that's my number 8, Works Volume 1,
Okay.
with a great Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
All right. My number 7 is, well, it's an all-star band, and this guy, I'm not a big fan of his solo work, but if he's in a band, I like pretty much everything he does, and that's Layla, Derek and the Dominoes, Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton, yeah.
With Cream, I like him. With Blind Faith, I like him. Derek and the Dominoes, I like him. But very little of his solo work do I like.
I don't like his solo work at all, actually.
Yeah.
No.
I could take his first 2 solo albums, self-titled, and then 461 Ocean Boulevard. But after that, I struggle with everything.
I struggle with everything by him, to be honest with you, Steve. No, I really do.
You won't be picking this either.
No, I won't. I do struggle with him. I think to me, his best performance as a guitarist when he was only a young fella was on John Mayall's first album.
Okay.
John Mayall's and the Blues Break. You know, it's called the Beano album.
Yep.
Like I think he might have been only 19 on that.
Yeah.
And that, to me, his guitar work on that is that kind of catapulted into, this is another brilliant guitarist coming out of England.
Yeah, I mean, even to me on this album, the star of this album, it's Duane Allman. It's not Eric Clapton.
Yeah, I agree there. Yeah.
So,
That's a great one anyway. No crossover, no crossovers yet.
Nope. All right.
My number 7 now. I don't have it on LP. I have it on CD. But what a brilliant double album, released in '68. Electric Ladyland by Jimi Hendrix. What a class album, Steve. Like in that version of the Bob Dylan track, All Along the Watchtower. Like he made it his own, didn't he?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. He made it his own. Like, but what an album! And this is unfortunately the last album of that trio he had. The 2 lads from England. So that's my one. 1968 Electric Ladyland. And I think this is his best album. I think it's better than his first.
I do have it, but it won't make my list. I'm not a huge Hendrix fan.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because I like a lot of the people he influenced. I like Robin Trower. I like Frank Marino, Stevie Ray Vaughan, all guys who play kind of in that Hendrix style.
Yeah, in that Hendrix style, yeah.
So
that's it anyway. That's my number 7. Your number 6, Steve.
Number 6 for me is, I'm counting this as a double album because the third album you can pretty much just throw away as far as I'm concerned. And that is George Harrison, All Things Must Pass.
Yeah.
Sides 5 and 6. That's just jamming. If that
was a double album,
if that album was released today, that sides 5 and 6, that would be called a bonus disc.
Yes.
That was something very new for somebody to do back then. So
yeah, no one would have really done that, would they?
Pardon me?
Nobody would have done that back then.
No, not that I can remember. No,
not that I can recall. Anyway, no.
Yeah.
And what's that album like? I haven't heard that album, Steve. What's it like?
Oh, I think it's the best Beatles solo album. I think it's better than anything McCartney or Lennon did solo wise. But I mean, it's George Harrison at his finest. But like I say, sides 5 and 6, it's just those jams that are just they're throwaways. That's why they weren't part of the proper album.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, I can understand that.
He's got an all-star band on there. He's got Pete Ham and Tom Evans from Badfinger. He's got Gary Wright. He's got Jim Gordon, who played in Derek and the Dominoes on drums. Phil Collins is on there, but he doesn't get credited on it.
Okay.
Just tons of other people. Klaus Vorman,
Okay, Steve.
That is my number 6.
A good one. My number 6, again, I don't have it on it. It's on CD. Released in 75. Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti. What a double studio album. I know it was some tracks left over from the previous couple of albums.
Right.
And they brought out, I always thought about this, and I know a lot of people are fanatical on Led Zeppelin. I always find with this album, people say it's a masterpiece, brilliant double studio. I don't think it's a masterpiece, to be quite honest with you, for the simple reason is I think there's filler on this. I think the first 2 sides are absolutely killer. But I think the third side is a weak side on the original LP. And they put them on, they wanted to bring out a double album, so they put tracks on. I always find with a lot of bands, if you leave tracks off certain albums, there's a reason why you left them off in the first place.
Yep, there's a reason. Yep.
There is a reason that you didn't put it on, because you had better tracks. And that's the reason. But it's still a brilliant album, like In My Time of Dying, Kashmir, the Wonton Song, they're all brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant English band. Brilliant English band. Before we get into the top 5, Steve, I just want to say thanks to all my subscribers, new and returning. And as Glenn Kellaway always said, if you're not subscribed to the channel, there's a little white thing down there. Hit that and hit the like button. And also, while you're at it, go over and check Steve's channel. And please do subscribe. You'll enjoy his channel. You'll enjoy his banter. Funny guy. Okay, Steve.
Thank you very much. Yes, Glenn beats that into the ground. You better subscribe and give a thumbs up to Glenn.
Yeah, he beats it into the ground, but it's a good idea, though. That's the way he does it. He's funny the way he does it.
Yeah. All right, number 5 for me. Speaking of Glenn, this is certainly, I know, in his top 3 albums of all time. I don't know, he's no different than the rest of us. Your top 10, 20 albums, they change on a day-to-day basis.
I guarantee I know what the album is then.
Yeah, it's Blonde on Blonde.
It's in his top 3.
Yeah. So, I was not initially a Bob Dylan fan. I really did not become a Bob Dylan fan until, which is kind of surprising considering my age. I mean, I'm 69 years old. I did not become a Bob Dylan fan until Infidels, which came out in '83. And then from there, I started working my way backwards. I mean, I only really knew what I had heard on the radio of his previous stuff. But this album, I mean, there's a reason why it is held on such a pedestal. There's no doubt it's probably his best work. It's not my favorite album by him, but if I was, say, a true music critic, getting paid to do that, I would probably say this is his finest piece of work.
Finest album, yeah. It's not a bad album. I'm not a big fan now, Steve, of Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
I have a few albums by him, and I've heard a lot of albums, but my favorite album that I've heard of him is an album called Desire. Believe it or not.
Yeah, that's a very good album.
I like that album. That's a good pick. Yeah. No crossovers yet, anyway.
No.
My number 5 is from 1979, Pink Floyd, The Wall. I think this is an incredible album by Pink Floyd, coming after their equally incredible Animals. And I remember when I heard this first, we heard this song back in 79 on the radio, another Brick in the Wall Part 2. Do you remember that? It was all over the radio, number 1 over here. But a bit poppy in places, but still a good track. But the album itself is a great concept. Now, some people think that side 3 with a couple of fillers on it is a weakest side, barring obviously Comfortably Numb and Hey You. but it is. There's a couple of tracks on it that stops it from being an absolute masterpiece. But other than that, it's an amazing album. It's a Roger Waters album, basically, isn't it?
It is.
But brilliant.
My all-time favorite guitar solos on there.
Uncomfortably Numb.
Yeah. I mean,
it's incredible, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's goosebump inducing. I mean,
yeah, it is. And even when he played, do you remember he played it live at the they got back together there, I remember, for some charity. Was it back in 07 in London? Do you remember the four of them? It's on YouTube.
Right. Yeah.
And they finished up with that one.
Yeah, wasn't it like the
That's a Hyde Park, I think.
Was it like an anniversary of Live 8 or something?
Something similar to that. It was something to do with that kind of, but the actual four, I know they're not the original members, like there's obviously Gilmour's not an original member, but the four main members of Floyd through the years. And it was great to see him back, even only for 4 tracks. But that's an amazing album. Amazing album.
All right.
Number 4, Steve.
I'll be interested to know if you know of this band. And this is the reason why I had asked you in our email exchange if we're going to consider albums that came out in the CD streaming era.
We can, yeah.
We can include them as long as they were 80 minutes or longer. Okay.
Even 70 would be things. I always think if they're over 70, there would have been a double album.
Yeah. So that is the band Spock's Beard. You familiar with them?
I'm familiar with Spock's Beard, yeah, I am.
So this is their concept album, Snow, which is about an albino prophet. And he goes out spreading his word. And but, it tells the whole story, the arc. Obviously, then he ends up with his fame and power. He becomes corrupted and loses his way. But then, goes back on the straight and narrow. But this came out in 2002.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah,
so it's almost 25 years old now. We're coming up on, which I couldn't
imagine that. Yeah,
really. This was the last album that their founder did with them, Neil Morris, because he was born.
He went on to do other things then. Yeah,
right. Yeah, he became a born again Christian and then went and did.
He went off on. He went off. He could have fell off board, as they say.
Yeah, he had other side projects, Transatlantic and Flying.
Transatlantic and other things, which are not bad, but some of his solo stuff I wouldn't be into now personally.
Yeah, his solo stuff I really can't get into, but this album I absolutely love. So there you go. That is my number 4.
Thanks for that, Steve. My number 4 is "Shake Your Booty" by Frank Zappa.
Okay.
Released in 1979. He released 2 albums in 1979. This was the first album. This is absolutely brilliant. Very humorous, funny. A lot of controversy with the track Jewish Princess on it at the time. They were slating Frank Zappa as being anti-Semitic. But Frank Zappa is Frank Zappa. He wrote songs about everything.
Yeah.
And he did take the piss out of a lot of stuff with his lyrics, his political satire. But that album is pure class. Pure class. By I think, one of the greatest artists of all time in rock music. I think he was a genius. I know you're not a big fan of him, Steve.
Yeah, I just could never get into it. I had friends growing up who liked him, and every time they played it, I was like, I don't know what you're hearing something different than I am.
We all hear things differently, though, Steve. In fairness, don't we? We do.
Right.
But that is just pure class. That's my number 4 anyway.
Okay. Number 3. I'm wondering if you're going to have this, because obviously you've yet to show it, but that is the Stones, Exile on Main Street.
No, Steve, I won't be showing that. You know why?
Okay.
You know why?
Why is that?
I hate him.
I can't stand
them.
Yeah, okay.
All my mates, the lads I have on the channel, they all love the Stones and they can't understand why I don't like them. But I've never liked them.
I get that. Like I just said, I mean, I've never been able to get into Zappa. You've never
Yeah,
been able to get into the Stones, you know?
and people are saying, listen to that album, and they say, yeah, I have listened to it.
Yeah.
I said, what's the big deal?
Right. There's no way you couldn't have heard most of these songs.
I've heard them. Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
the album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know which. I'm always kind of intrigued when people say, no, you need to listen to this album. And I'm like, you know what? Odds are if I don't like them, I'm probably not going to like that album either, you know?
No, that's quite true. And
A lot of times, well, at least for me, a lot of times, if I like a band or not, it's going to come down to the lead singer. Doesn't matter how good the music is. If I don't like the singer's voice, I'm probably not going to like the album.
okay, yeah.
So,
Well, wouldn't bother me. The singer wouldn't bother me now.
no, you can listen to a band where you don't like the singer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can listen to him. If I like the music, if the
Yeah.
music is good, I put up with the singing.
Okay.
But if he has a brilliant singer and the music is bad, then I don't go near it.
Okay.
You know,
I can see that. Yes.
I don't like Jagger's voice anyway.
Okay.
You know, and I don't like the music. Simple as that. Honestly, I'm being honest now.
That's a bad combination.
Yeah, I just don't like
If you don't like the singer's voice or the music, you're not going to like
I
that.
just don't like it. Never got him. Never got him.
All right, I'll put you out of your misery. I'm done talking about the Stones.
Okay. My number 3 is Tales from Topographic Oceans by Yes. One of the greatest progressive rock albums of all time, I think, this one. A very hard listen to when I heard it first, Steve, I'll be honest with you. It took me a while to get into it. Because you must remember, I was after hearing Fragile, the Yes album, and Close to the Edge, and then I heard this one. And it was different, you know, it was kind of... I think, you know, if I've been honest, they could have made it a single album. Condensed it all. That's what Rick Wakeman even said they should have. But still, you listen to it now with more, you know, better understanding of how the music was created, and it's a brilliant album. Brilliant album.
Yeah, I mean, that album's why Rick Wakeman left.
It is, yeah, because they had trees in the studio, mock trees, and they had hay, and they wanted this kind of new age, kind of hippie feel to the studio, you know, so he had to get out of there.
Right.
You know?
I mean, I was first hearing it, I was at the same place as you. I mean, because you're coming off the Yes album, Fragile, and Close to the Edge. One of the best 3 album runs ever.
Ever, yeah, ever.
It doesn't matter which band. I mean, in fact, I just saw John Anderson live last Friday.
Oh, did you? Yeah, with the Geeks.
Yeah, fantastic. But I'm still struggling with Tales. I give it a listen like once or twice a year, just like, okay, maybe something will connect this time. I it's still yet to embrace me. So.
Yeah, well, that's it's a love-hate album in many respects. Some people love it and some people hate it.
Yeah.
I hated it for years. And my mate Kevin, who'd gone, said, go on and listen to it again. I said, okay. It's a long listen, I said.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I bought it on the Rhino CD as well. I said, I'm not going to be getting up and down. No, I'll play the whole thing through. And I enjoyed it. You know, and it's really well produced. It's actually better produced than the LP, the Rhino remaster on CD. Nice little box. You know. Anyway, that's my number 3, Tales from Topographic by the great Yes.
Okay, my number 2, talk about albums taking a long time to get into. Pretty much the same era, just came out a year after that. And that is The Lamb, Genesis.
Yeah, an amazing album.
It took me forever to get into this. I'm going to say if this came out in 74, this took me a good 40 years to get into.
Okay, that's very interesting.
It's in my top 5 Genesis albums. You ever hear the band, The Musical Box?
Yes.
Genesis tribute band?
Yeah.
Yeah. They will do their albums in its entirety. And I saw them do this because back in 1974, I was playing in a band and we played nothing but heavy stuff. We played Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, that kind of music. I wasn't into this kind of prog. I could listen to, like I said, the 3 Yes albums. That kind of prog I could listen to. This was a little different story.
Yeah, it's a concept album. I could never. I'll talk about it later. It's a concept album and an unusual concept in many respects.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You know, it's hard to understand exactly what he's trying to get across. You know, and I always find with that album, first 2 sides utterly amazing. Second, third, and fourth side is kind of unfinished. It sounds to me as if they were rushed. You know, they kind of rushed it, but still brilliant though.
Well, I know the rest of the band members said they didn't even understand what it was about.
No, they couldn't get it.
Yeah. So that is my number 2.
My number 2, I'm going with Frank Zappa again. Okay.
Okay.
And this is Acts 2 and 3 of Joe's Garage, released in 1979. He released Act 1 before as a single album and then brought out the double album. And this is I think this is one of the greatest concepts of all time. The whole series 1 to 3 of what happened if you lived in a world where music was illegal.
Yeah, well, Rush kind of went with that story with 2112.
Yeah, and he went with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's his thing of it. And there are certain countries in this world, Steve, where you can't play rock music.
Right.
It is illegal to play that kind of music.
Because what
I love that album because after the criticism he had on the previous album, Shake Your Booty, for Jewish Princess, right? He said he was anti-Semitic. He did Catholic Girls. You know, so and he was a Catholic. He was brought up as a Catholic.
Yeah.
You know, so he went. He gets into everything on that. I don't think he could. If you brought out that album now in 2025, they'd be screaming from they'd be screaming everywhere. You can't say this and you can't say this. I think he can say it. It's music.
And what year is that?
79 again.
Okay.
Oh, he was on a roll, sure, in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, that was one of the great things about the 70s, how many bands would put out 2 albums in a year.
Yeah, they were just on a roll. The creative juices were flowing, you know, and he was always being creative anyway, you know. So
we haven't had one match yet, have we?
Not match, and we will in a second, I suppose. What's your number 1 then?
It's our first match. It's Physical Graffiti. So, in fact, when I was in a band, we named ourselves Night Flight after the song Night Flight on here.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. It is there are some throwaway tunes.
There are a few throwaway tunes. Yeah.
I mean, the songs that are standouts, I mean, they are really just fantastic songs too. So.
In My Time of Dying, Kashmir.
Yeah.
You know, it is, and it's a beautiful cover on the LP. I know I have it on CD, but on the LP with the cutout.
Oh yeah, incredible album cover. Yeah, they spared no expense on this. So
no, some street in New York, isn't that right? In the Bronx, is that right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is in the Bronx. In fact, I know that's the same street building that when the Stones filmed the video for Waiting on a Friend. I believe that's the same building.
Same building, yeah. Well, that's a brilliant number 1. First, the very first crossover. Well, we're going to have a second one.
Okay.
Because my number 1 is The Lamb.
Yep.
And what can we say more about this album? I'm like you, Steve. This took me years to get into. Because I originally bought it, Steve, and I still have it, on cassette.
Okay.
And usually if I buy something on cassette, because I used to buy cassettes, and they were cheaper. And that means I could buy 2 cassettes instead of 1 album, you know? And I play it on cassette, and at least I have a physical format. But I went out and bought it then on it, but it took me years to get into it. I couldn't get into it.
Do you remember what the turning point was for you?
My mate Kevin said, go and listen to it again.
Yeah, okay.
Go and listen to it again. And while you're at it, he said, go and listen to the rest of them. Because I had him there as well, and I just couldn't get into Genesis. And the reason being, I was always comparing them to Yes and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and King Crimson. They were my three prog bands. And I had them up on a pedestal. And I said, sure, they're not as good as them. You get me? You know, I kind of throw, but you're not actually after listening to the stuff. You know, when you're younger, no, I won't listen to it. Should I have all Genesis stuff now up to Duke? I won't listen to their 80s stuff because I can't stand it.
I was going to say you're probably not a fan of the Collins era.
No, Duke would be my last straw with them. Like that stuff they brought out in the 80s. And Gabriel, I have a few studio albums by Peter Gabriel. They're okay. You know, some good tracks here and there, but he did his best work when he was with Genesis.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
For me, what it took, I like to read a lot of books on rock music and rock biographies. And I think it was 2007, Genesis put out a book that they all participated in. And even though I wasn't a huge Genesis fan at that point in time, I bought the album, or I bought the book. And when I have a book like that, I prefer to own the discography so I can just listen to it as I go through, you know, their history. So I ended up buying the rest of their stuff that I didn't already own. And so then obviously that's when I got Lamb. And even then, while I was reading the book, I wasn't getting onto it, but it was sometime around maybe 2010 that I finally, it connected with me. Not sure what it did, but they've got.
I still don't really know what it's about, to be honest with you, Steve. If someone was said to me, "What is it about?" I don't know.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't care. I don't need to know.
Sometimes, yeah, you don't need to know the music and sometimes. Now, I do like good lyrics, Steve. When you know, like I think Ian Anderson is one of the best from Tull. Tells the story, you can follow it. Roger Waters is the same, but some bands, the lyrics doesn't really matter. It's like an extra instrument, isn't it? You just hum along with it.
Yeah.
Like who knows what Close to the Edge is about, you?
Oh, a lot of John Anderson's lyrics.
Yeah.
I had a friend once say to me, and I had never really thought of it, but he said John Anderson sings like he's talking almost in Morse code. He's like, dit, 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 dit,
yeah.
Dit. And when he said that, I'm like, you know what? You're right.
He is. Yeah, yeah. What are they about, you know?
Yeah.
You know, Tales from Topographic Ocean. What is it about?
Well, that was like 4 different, what has to do with yogi, with a yogi or something.
Oh, yeah, all that kind of stuff. That's why he brought in all that stuff. But they're all connected.
It's too metaphysical for me.
Yeah, I don't want to be getting into it. I want to listen to the music at the back behind it. You
Yeah.
know? Steve, that was great.
Thank you.
It was great having you on the channel. I mean, it really was fantastic having you on the channel.
I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully I'll have you on again very, very soon.
Definitely.
Definitely. And I just want to say before I go, Steve, to my subscribers, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that video. And if you like it, hit that subscribe button and hit the like button as well. All right, Steve.
Thank you, sir.
And it's nice to be nice. Always nice to be nice. And whatever you're doing, stay safe. Very important. So for me, Pat, and for my special guest, Steve from Chicago, thank you very much and bye for now. Bye-bye.